Now let's have a look at some examples where the parabola may not have its vertex on the origin, and we could be given any piece of information, and we could be asked to get the equation, or we could be asked to get features, these features of a parabola in terms of its focus, directrix, etc. So we have to read the question very carefully, find out what it is that the question wants us to get. Now, just remember, we now have, I guess it's like 4 variations for the equation. It could be simply it could be simply x squared is equal to plus or minus 4ay. It could be, now we'll have y squared is equal to plus or minus 4ax. We could have x minus h all squared is plus or minus 4ay minus k. Or we could have y minus k all squared is plus or minus 4ax minus h. And hopefully you've consolidated what each one of these algebraic equations looks like in the graphical form. If you haven't, you need to go back and spend a little bit more time on the previous exercises and make sure you do know how you translate a parabola with these given equations into the graphical representation and reverse, because that's what the questions are basically going to require of you, being able to go between the two. So in example 1, it says find the equation. Good, so we're going to have to choose from that, of the parabola with the vertex. So be aware, we're now saying vertex. So in many questions of a previous exercise, it said the focus. It told you the values of the focus. If you don't know the difference between focus and vertex, then you should, and you need to do something to rectify that. If you haven't read that statement there and noted that this is the vertex and not the focus, then again, if you haven't noted that difference, you're not really paying attention to detail. So it's something that you've still got to practice a lot more until that you realize that every word is really important, and you've got to be registering it. So we've got the vertex, the focal length, and the axis is parallel to the y-axis, and we've got to find the equation. Well, finding the equation, I'd go back to the 4 steps. 1 was sketch as much as you can, decide on the format for your parabola. Step 3, evaluate your value of your focal length and or now vertex, and 4, sub into the appropriate equation, get the equation for the parabola. So in drawing this one, what do we know? The vertex is at -2, -1. This is my vertex. The focal length is 2. I'm still not knowing much. I don't know whether that's going to be 2 units up here, 2 units back there, 2 units down here, or 2 units over there. But I know the axis is parallel to the y-axis. So here's my y-axis. So I know the axis of the parabola is here. So again, I still don't know, is my focus 2 units up here or 2 units down there? And there's nothing in the question that answers that. So that is telling me that I have to give 2 options. and the 2-option format is actually written over here. So I know it's going to be an x squared, and I can see that I have to give this format for my answer. So I would start off with vertex minus 2 minus 1. Therefore, h is equal to minus 2, k is equal to minus 1. I also know the focal length, which I'll know is A, is 2. I've used this piece of information in drawing my graph. Now, so I'm up to decide, well, I think I've already chosen the format. I want the x minus h all squared is equal to plus or minus 4ay minus k. I was given A, I didn't have to find A, and I've got my h and k. Now for some of you, having identified that and written the equation, you're going to be much more likely to sub in correctly. You've got it there in front of you. Those of you that have been taking shortcuts, thinking you'll get it all together in just one go with writing nothing else down, and in the past you've found you've got it wrong, you're probably still going to get it wrong if that's the way you're approaching them. Can't emphasize enough, write your information down. Have it there in front of you so you can easily identify it and do correct substituting, because some of you are still not being careful enough there, and you're losing valuable marks because of that. But again, that is something that's easily corrected. Show every step of working. Write down your information that's given. These are easy things to correct, and you'll find in the long run you get well rewarded for it. Some of you, I'm sure, would be much happier with your results if you were getting all the marks that you possibly could, as opposed to throwing away some easy marks. So we can see now that we'll have x and we're subtracting h. I'm subtracting a negative. This is where the many mistakes are made. Subtracting a negative is a positive, so it's x plus 2 all squared. I'm keeping the plus minus because there wasn't enough information for me to decide which orientation of the parabola I should have, so I'm going to leave both options in my answer. A is equal to 2, 4 2s are 8, and y minus k. Subtract a negative is a positive. And that's the answer.